My IL says she has emergency meeting but shows up to my house and lets herself in while I'm in kitchen. The flour cloud hit me like a slap, puffing up from the counter as my rolling pins slammed down harder than I meant. I was mid-bake, sleeves rolled up, stress kneading dough for a pie I didn't even want, when the front door creaked open, unlocked. Because who expects an invasion at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday? My mother-in-law, Vivian, stood there, key in hand, smirking like she'd just won a bet I didn't know I was part of. I froze. The kitchen suddenly too small, the air thick with cinnamon and betrayal. Vivian wasn't supposed to be here. She'd texted me an hour ago, all caps, about some emergency board meeting at her fancy law firm. "So sorry, dear. Can't make it today," she'd written, and I'd sighed in relief, thinking I'd dodged her usual critique of my chaotic life. Yet here she was, striding into my house like it was her stage, her designer heels clicking on my scuffed hardwood. "Oh, don't look so shocked. Emily," she said, tossing her purse onto my couch. "I thought I'd pop by. You know, check in. Check in." My jaw clenched. This wasn't checking in. This was a power move, a violation wrapped in a smile. Vivian had a key. My husband, Mark, insisted she keep one for emergencies when we moved into this fixer-upper 2 years ago. I'd argued against it, my gut screaming that Vivian's definition of emergency included snooping through my cabinets or rearranging my spice rack to her liking. Mark laughed it off. "She's just trying to help. Give her a chance." I gave her chances. Too many. And now, here she was, uninvited, in my space, while I stood covered in flour, my sanctuary breached. I wiped my hands on my apron, forcing a smile that felt like chewing glass. "Vivian, I thought you had a meeting." My voice was tight, a bowstring ready to snap. She waved a manicured hand, her gold bracelets jangling. "Oh, that canceled. I figured I'd surprise you. You've been so busy." Her eyes flicked over the kitchen, lingering on the sink full of dishes, the crumbs on the floor. Judgment radiated from her like heat from an oven. I wanted to scream. This wasn't just about her showing up. It was the months of her subtle digs calling my job as a freelance illustrator cute, hinting that Mark deserved a wife who kept things tidy, offering to pay for a maid like I was failing some unspoken test. Vivian had a way of making me feel small, like my life was a draft she needed to edit. And Mark, he loved his mom, saw her as the saint who raised him alone after his dad left. To him, her oversteps were quirks, not landmines. I'd tried talking to him, but every conversation ended with, "She means well. Just let it go." Let it go I couldn't. Not today. The dough under my hands was a lifeline, something I could control. Baking was my escape, my art when words failed. I'd spent the morning sketching for a client, wrestling with a deadline, and all I wanted was 1 hour of peace. Vivian's intrusion wasn't just inconvenient, it was personal. She knew I'd be home, knew I'd be vulnerable, caught off guard in my own space. The key in her hand felt like a weapon. "Vivian," I said, stepping around the counter, "you can't just let yourself in. This is my home." My voice shook, but I held her gaze. Her smile faltered, just for a second, before she recovered, tilting her head like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Oh, Emily, don't be dramatic. I'm family. I thought you'd appreciate the company." She moved toward the coffee maker, casual as if she owned the place, and started rifling through my mugs. "You really should organize these better." Something snapped. The rolling pin hit the counter with a thud, flour puffing again. "No," I said, louder than I meant. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to lie about a meeting, use a key you shouldn't have, and walk in here like you're doing me a favor." Her eyes widened, but I kept going. "This is my house. Vivian, mine and Mark's, not yours." The silence was deafening. The clock ticked, each second a heartbeat. Vivian set the mug down, her lips pursing. "I see," she said. her voice cold now, the warmth gone. I didn't realize I was such a burden. She grabbed her purse, her movements sharp, and headed for the door. I'll let Mark know how you feel. The door clicked shut behind her, and I sank onto a stool, my hands trembling. Guilt crept in, had I been too harsh. She was Mark's mom, after all, but the anger was still there, burning bright. She'd crossed a line, and I'd let her get away with too many before. I grabbed my phone, texting Mark. We need to talk. Now. He came home early, his face a mix of worry and confusion. What happened? Mom's upset. Says you yelled at her. I took a deep breath, the kitchen still smelling of flour and tension, and told him everything. Vivian's lie, the key, the way she made me feel like an intruder in my own life. Mark listened, his brow furrowing. I didn't know it was this bad, he said finally. I thought she was just being mom. She's not just being mom, I said, my voice softer now. She's making me feel like I'm not enough. And you letting her keep that key, letting her check in whenever she wants, it's like you're choosing her over me. The words hung heavy, raw. Mark's face fell, and for the first time, I saw him really hear me. He reached for my hand. I'm sorry. I didn't see it. I'll talk to her. And the key, we'll take it back. Relief flooded me, but it was cautious. This wasn't just about a key. It was about boundaries, about respect, about building a life where I didn't have to fight to feel at home. The next week was a blur. Mark called Vivian, and I listened from the other room as he set the boundary, his voice firm but kind. Mom, you can't just come over unannounced. Emily's right, it's our home. I didn't hear her response, but Mark's jaw was tight when he hung up. She's not happy, he said, but she'll get over it. I nodded, hoping he was right. We changed the locks, a small act that felt monumental. Vivian didn't pop by again, but her texts to Mark grew sharper, laced with guilt trips about family loyalty. I worried she'd paint me as the villain, that Mark might waver, but he didn't. He started calling her out, redirecting her to focus on her own life, not ours, and it wasn't perfect. Vivian was still Vivian, but it was progress. Baking became my refuge again. The kitchen, once a battlefield, felt like mine. I made pies, breads, cookies, each one a small victory. One evening, as Mark and I sat eating warm apple pie, he grinned. You know, Mom never could bake like this. I laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in months. We were finding our rhythm, rebuilding trust, reclaiming our space. Looking back, I see the bigger picture. It wasn't just about Vivian or the key. It was about standing up for myself, for my home, for the life I wanted with Mark. Families are messy, boundaries are hard, but they're worth fighting for. Vivian's still part of our lives. She's Mark's mom, and I respect that. But respect goes both ways, and I'm done apologizing for demanding it. What do you think? Was I right to confront Vivian, or should I have handled it differently? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear where you stand on this.